question for me, but I mean, it feels nice. My teammates, I'm trying to pour into them and they pour back into me. So whatever minutes I get out there on the court, I'm just gonna go as hard as I can. And tonight it just came to fruition as points.
And I'd just like to point out that she's a Husky, and Huskies are the best.
As you guys know, we talked about with the team and with you guys that have been covering us that we were trying to treat this second game as kind of a playoff series with Connecticut. And I thought when we came out in the first quarter, I thought we did a lot of things that we wanted to accomplish. And, I looked at the staff near the end of the first quarter and said, we really look connected and playing good basketball, and felt like we made some good adjustments going into what we considered our game 2 of the playoffs. Unfortunately, that start of the second quarter, an 8-0 run in the first 80 seconds, with a missed coverage and turnovers and a couple things, really put us on our heels. And, those are the kind of stretches that have shaken our team right now when we're in this build and in this stretch. And I thought that really set the tone for a second quarter that got away from us, which then had us go into halftime, feeling not as good as we should because of how well we played the first quarter. I thought, Marino had a really good game against us, but we just never could really make a run at them in the second half to make them feel us. But some positives through that, Azare had a monster defensive rebounding night. We were scrambling for records to see, who in franchise history has ever had more than that. And I think maybe Candace is the only person that's ever had more defensive rebounds than Azare. So big shout out. Talked about the 3-pointers tonight, wanting to take more and hunt more threes. I thought for the most part we did that. I thought we even passed up some, and then Crystal got hot. So appreciate Crystal continuing to hunt for threes like we asked, and had, what I consider her best performance as a Spark with us this year. So, some good moments in that game, but certainly not enough to come away with a win. So we look at that as our first playoff series, and we didn't get through it. Now we get to start this next one against Seattle. This is not easy with a third game in 4 days, and now a back-to-back ever. But we'll regroup and start to prepare for a talented Seattle team tomorrow for game 1 of what we look like in that, what we're considering our playoff series with Seattle.
Questions for players?
Hey, Azare, just your aggressiveness tonight. You were able to put up 13 shots, getting the 17 rebounds. Like, what did you see out there that made you come into this game like, I'm going to be very aggressive?
I like the matchup against Breezy. Like, obviously she's really talented, but I'm a quick, agile post. And so, I played against her for a few years now, and I like to exploit that. So I think the team did a good job of just giving me the ball, and we were moving and just trying to, just like they were doing mismatches against us, we had the same amount of mismatches. So I just tried to be aggressive, and I think the team plays better when I'm aggressive, even if I'm not making everything, but just coming out being aggressive is something I'm trying to do.
Hey, Azare, this one's for you as well. Obviously it's late in the season. It's been kind of ups and downs, but there's been some positive. Are you guys feeling some physical and emotional fatigue right now? And how are you guys lifting each other up right now?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a tough season. Obviously, that's no secret. We're out of playoffs now. There's a lot of negatives, but there's a lot we can be building towards too. A lot of us are going to be returning next year, and even the ones that aren't, it's still an opportunity to grow as a player in this league and prepare yourself for whatever opportunity is next. So we've talked about that after a lot of these games, just what are ways we can stay positive and continue to build for those of us that are coming back next year, and even the ones that aren't, what are ways that we can continue to pour positive energy into what we're trying to do and finish this year with pride. Who cares about the record at this point? We want to walk off the court that last game feeling good about representing the Sparks in the best way possible.
I'm also sure. Hey, DJ from Infinity TV. Crystal, we had a chance to speak before the game, and you talked about finding your way to the Sparks through hardship. How does a moment like tonight feel to reinforce, all the hard work that you put in to get some of that payout back?
That's a loaded question for me, but I mean, it feels nice. My teammates, I'm trying to pour into them and they pour back into me. So whatever minutes I get out there on the court, I'm just gonna go as hard as I can. And tonight it just came to fruition as points.
And I'd just like to point out that she's a Husky and Huskies are the best.
Thank you.
So with the pieces being moved, we've talked a bunch, about hardship and different things that are happening. And you're treating this like the playoffs. And again, like the pieces are moving around and we're finding different matchups. How do you feel going into this matchup against Seattle coming from this part of the game?
Yeah, I haven't turned the page to Seattle yet.
Okay.
Still, I got this game on my mind, but obviously quick turnaround. We've played, I've been in a lot of playoff games, and the turnaround from one series to another when you advance is not always short. And so these are the kind of things that you got to turn the page and be ready. So we're going to treat it well. It's not easy to play 3 games in 4 days in this league. It's certainly not easy to play back to back. But I think, I got a group that has always been a willing preparer. They're going to prepare and we're going to coach them like we're fighting for a number 1 seed. We're going to continue to prepare hard. And it's a good test. They got dynamic players, a lot of Olympic type players. And so, we look forward to the challenge that Seattle brings. I'm not sure if they were there. I heard they might be there in person tonight, so I'm not sure if they were in the stands or not. But we'll get back to work tomorrow.
Coach, you talked about just preparing like it's a playoff series a few times. And you talked about, your coverage against Marina last game. Did you change that at all? And why do you think she was able to have success today?
Yeah, we changed different coverages within the game, but we played the coverage that we had success getting the ball out of her hands tonight. I thought she played with a better tempo and just exploited some of our mistakes defensively. Again, she just gets an inch. She's such a good scorer. And then, as she got hot, it's hard to cool her down. Then she starts to make the contested shots. That's what makes the elite players in our league so special is a lot of players in our league make open shots. The elite players make contested shots. And you could tell she got into one of those flows tonight where she was really comfortable. And we guarded the arc okay. They were 3 for 13 or 2 for 13, I think. Beside her, but her ability to give them 3 points is so big because again they didn't have a great night at the arc outside of her, so disappointing at times some of the lack of some of the slippage we had in our coverages, but we tried to change it up and give her different looks throughout the game.
Hey, Coach, obviously you know what it means to build a team. Injuries played a huge part in this season, but of course, growing pains are a thing. But for you specifically, is there anything that keeps you up at night about anything that's happened thus far in the season?
Yeah, and I mentioned it probably a couple weeks ago that, again, I pride myself in unintended consequences. The amount of injuries and illnesses we've had in these first 2 years have been daunting. But, again, the unintended consequences, I've always, looked at the positives of opening the opportunities up for other players. Connecticut, it seemed like every year we had a major starter out for the season or out for a significant part of the season. And it opened the door, for other people. And Bree Jones is a perfect example. When JJ opted out of the bubble, it just continued to allow her more and more opportunities. And she just kept getting better and better. And by the time she was in her 4th and 5th year, she's now a perennial all-star and, one of the go-to players. So, what keeps me up a little bit at this, with this team is, I've always prided myself to, regardless of the injuries and illnesses in this league, is, can you overachieve? And can you help people that now are maybe getting a different opportunity or a even more enhanced role to take advantage of it? I just haven't always pushed the right buttons for this team to overachieve. I feel like we are good enough to play with teams for 3.5 quarters, but we've struggled to get to the finish line at times. So that's on, that's what I, lose sleep at times, because this locker room has great people in it. It's frustrated. There's, that's human with the losses that we have, but this locker room has great people in it. We have a lot of people that are committed to coming back. And I just want them to experience, some joy. I want them to experience a win again, because they haven't stopped working. They haven't stopped preparing. That's, I wish for them, to feel some joy before the end of the year.
Coach, you kind of just alluded to my next question. You guys haven't really been able to put together full 4 quarters. So looking ahead to your next playoff series and even, next season, how are you trying to get your team to overachieve, like you said?
Yeah, I think, the big catchwords around the team recently are discipline, focus, Reagan just spoke to the players and talked about, finding joy, and some of the message was not letting, one mistake, slippage, snowball. And, that's our big growth area these last 5 games is that we can't let a couple mistakes, a couple bad plays, a couple poor decisions turn into, a quarter that gets away from us, or a segment in the game that gets away from us. That's important for this team. We have fine line. There's thin line between, we have fine line between, winning and losing right now. And so we just got it to avoid some of these stretches where people have bigger runs on us than we'd like.
Coach, excuse me. Coach, as you said, the team has been decimated by injuries. With the challenges that this season has brought to you, A, how's your mental health, and B, what's bringing you joy?
I love living in the South Bay. I live in one of the greatest places in the world, and one of the reasons that LA was such an attraction for me, despite coming off that finals appearance again with Connecticut. I love people that I work with. I'm very fortunate. I've had 2 GMs in the first 15 months, but to have Reagan as my boss, and Reagan and I once worked together as assistant coaches, and someone that has been a coach and understands what coaches are going through, that brings me joy that I'm working with really good people. I'm telling you, what can't be seen is when I got here, there was issues, and there was things that were, for lack of a better word, a little bit in disarray. And the roots that have started to form, and the work behind the scenes, and the work of our president, who's going to do terrific things for LA, to watch, Reagan's first year as a GM. Like, I think about back at my first year as a GM, I had no idea. So to see what she's doing already, and how she communicates with the team, how she communicates with agents, is just really encouraging to me that she's going to be really a bright star in the GM role. So the roots that are in place, the support, the investment, and the commitment that Eric has right now as our owner is greater than it's ever been. And all those things, aren't going to be in the media. They're not going to be seen on a daily basis, but we're feeling them. And where we are now compared to when I got here, the roots are so much stronger. And so we've got to be patient. Never easy for fan bases. Never easy for us. I'm a builder and build a lot of programs, but I'm not used to losing either, and so, we're gonna get there though, and I'm proud of the work behind the scenes that isn't as seen as much on what's going on. It's gonna pay off. I can't tell you when. I understand that. I can have honest talk, but, really doing good things behind the scenes.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.